Sudan is now one of the world's largest humanitarian crises. Just the sheer number of people suffering. We're talking about over 30 million people in need of humanitarian assistance. That's more than half of the population. More than 9 million people are internally displaced, and they've been living without a home, sometimes in a shelter or in a camp for over 1,000 days. Some of them have been displaced once, twice, even 3 times, each time being attacked. On top of this, what we're seeing is that it's been really relentless violence against civilians for 1,000 days and more. Cities have been attacked, hospitals have been bombed, markets have been destroyed, women have been raped, children have been out of school for a lot of them for the past 3 years and a half, and their childhood have been really stolen. The magnitude of this war is huge, and it has also implication for the entire region. You have millions of refugees right now who are also outside of, fled Sudan and who live in some of the world's poorest or most vulnerable countries in the world. For example, South Sudan, for example, Chad. There is also a lot of people who are being hosted by Egypt at the moment, Ethiopia, Uganda, Libya, etc. And so this is really a crisis that spread from the Red Sea to the Sahel. And sadly, the world is not paying enough attention to what is one of the world's most mega crises. The condition in camps, in displacement camps, is extremely difficult. I'm going to take the example of Tawila right now, which is Sudan's largest displacement camp. It has over 500,000 people who are living there, and this is 500,000 people who've literally just survived mass atrocity. They've survived slaughter in Zamzam camp and in Al Fasher, and they arrived in Tawila with nothing. Sometimes not even with with food, not even with water, not even with their own family. A lot of them have been separated. Once they arrive in the camp, it's not the end of the ordeal for them. The camp is completely overwhelmed by people. The humanitarian response is very far from reaching, the level of assistance that we would wish. What that means on the ground is so many hundreds of people, for example, sharing one latrine. That means that the water points that we see in the middle of, in the little neighborhoods of the camp only function a few hours per day. And so you have people who are queuing for a very long time just in front of the water point to take water to drink, to wash themselves, and to cook. And usually the people who are doing that are also children. So it's children as well who should be trying to be children, trying to be in school, etc., who are forced in a way to participate to this very, very difficult task. So overall, the situation in camps, not only in Tawila, but across Darfur, across the Kordofan and in the east of the country, it's extremely difficult. Water is missing, decent shelter is missing, access to food is missing, basic services, etc. It is very difficult to work in Sudan as a humanitarian organization. The warring parties have not respected international humanitarian law for the past 3 years and a half. Assistance has been blocked. Cities have been nearly besieged or completely besieged for months, even more than years. Preventing assistance from reaching people. There's been a lot of also bureaucratic impediment that's prevented assistance to reach people in the timeline that is required. And finally, in terms of logistic, it is also a very large country whereby there is no adequate road from time to time. It is extremely slow and dangerous sometimes to get aid into the most remote areas, but also the most at-risk areas in Sudan. And so helping population in Sudan is very difficult. That's why we need humanitarian support. We need funding for the humanitarian response, but we also need, political pressure on the warring parties and the backers to make sure that humanitarian assistance flows where it should be. I would say one last thing is that last year was very deadly for humanitarian workers in Sudan. Many of our, Sudanese colleagues have been killed, from in Darfur especially. There's also local volunteers, the ones who run the takayas, the communal kitchen, who have been detained, attacked, and harassed for the past 2 years and a half. And so it is really important that the protection of humanitarian aid workers, of medical staff, of local responders is respected. To be honest with you, the international community has not met the moment for Sudan and has not reached a level of commitment, both in terms of funding, but also in terms of political attention to significantly help Sudanese people. And the ones who have helped Sudanese people are the Sudanese people themselves. Just in terms of funding, for example, last year, 60% of the funding needed for the humanitarian response was missing at the end of the year. And now we need more than 2.8 billion in order to respond to the most dire needs, not even to all the needs in Sudan, just really to prioritize the most dire one. And we are worried that the international solidarity is not working to the level that it should. And this is really a plea for everyone around, in the West, in rich countries, to support Sudan, to support also the countries that have hosted Sudanese, because in many cases, the first people who help are actually the host community themselves.